Welcome to Paradise in the Pines, a podcast about the people, places, and stories that make this the home of American golf. Brought to you by the Pinehurst Southern Pines Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Hello again, everybody. I'm Phil Wurz, President and CEO of the Pinehurst Southern Pines Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. And it's time for another show, and it's our one-year anniversary show. And in such of an occasion, we bring back our first guest, Tom Pashley, the president of Pinehurst Resort, also the chairman of the CVB. So, Tom, welcome back to Paradise in the Pines.
It is great to be back. You've put together quite a lineup, 24
shows in 1 year. So we try to do one every other week. We have had some lulls, because of vacations, things like that. But it's been a good run. We had some great guests, and we've gotten some great feedback from it. You remember the first show you were on? It was at San Jose Community College, and we just like the friendly confines of the CVB headquarters, the mothership here, so as we call it. So we appreciate you being here, and it's certainly apropos. Given the news that's come out from Pinehurst Resort most recently. But I can't get started without saying this. I don't know how much of a Georgia fan you are. I know you're from Augusta, Georgia. I know you did your undergrad at Georgia and did your graduate work at Duke at the Fuqua Business School. How about that beatdown the other night?
Wow.
I mean, amazing.
We feel like we were due an easy game after the Ohio State Peach Bowl, because
Right.
that was a nail biter, last second missed field goal. But yeah, back-to-back national championships, back-to-back U.S. Opens. I'm kind of getting used to this back-to-back thing. Really proud.
Well done.
Don't get back to many games, but still, the flag was flying at home, had the shirts on.
Right.
A fun run for Kirby and the Bulldogs.
I heard the NCAA had approached, I don't know how true it is, at halftime, because it was 38-7, and said, hey, call off the dogs, pun intended. But they only scored 27 in the second half instead of 38.
That'd be a good T-shirt. Call off the dogs. I like that. Yeah, it's neat. I wish we were closer to Athens so I could get back more often. But yeah,
it was almost like Tiger Woods. If we're going to tie it to golf, almost like Tiger Woods and that major he won by 10, 12 strokes.
Yeah.
A major beatdown. But anyway, congratulations to your dogs, and
Thank you.
And hopefully the Blue Devils can do something with Coach K being gone now and John Shire taking over. So remains to be seen as landscape has changed in the ACC on Tobacco Road. So, Tom, you're here. Congratulations once again on announcing Pinehurst number 10. I don't think it was a matter of, when. It wasn't a matter of when, how are you going to do it, but when. So what made this the right time?
Yeah, we've as you know, we've been sitting on this land for a couple of decades. It was acquired on two different occasions. The first piece of land was kind of acquired in the late 90s. And then the Pitt Golf Course closed in 2010. We acquired it in 2011. So we've had land for future golf for several decades. Core Crenshaw did a routing back in 2012 that we were just sitting on. At the time, we didn't need more golf. And so now, as we've seen golfers return in record numbers, members are playing record numbers of rounds of golf right now. We need more golf. And so luckily we have this land where we can dream about future golf. And so we decided the time is right. We need to do it. But golf architects right now are super busy.
Right.
And so, Core and Crenshaw, who had already done the routing, you get in touch with those guys, and they're a couple years away from being able to take on a new project. So then we were thinking about other options. And clearly Tom Doak is one of the best golf architects in the world, has done some amazing work on sand. And so we got in touch with Tom Doak, and his words were, if you can do it sooner than later, I might be able to work it in. Yeah. And that was music to our ears. Like, all right, let's get going. Let's go soon. And so we put it on turbo and worked real fast to make it happen.
If people aren't familiar, the location for Pinehurst number 10 is at the old Pitt Golf Course, about 4 miles south on Highway 5 down in Aberdeen. It's interesting because I never heard that Core Crenshaw had done a routing about 10 years ago. Did it follow the original Pitt design? And will the Tom Doak design kind of follow what the Pitt was, or will it be a completely just use of the land however he wishes?
Totally different. So a golf course sits on approximately 250 acres of land, plus or minus. And so again, we have 900 acres. So it's not redoing the Pitt. The Pitt, sits kind of horizontally. This is kind of an east to west piece of land, and so it's long and narrow, if you will. And so the pit is on some of that land, but no, this is not a redo of the pit. This is going to be a totally new golf course. The Doak routing sits kind of on the western side of the property, and it's neat because it touches kind of 3 different types of terrain. It does touch some of the old pit tailings, that has some really interesting landforms.
Yeah.
It moves north into some untouched, pine forest land, and then it also bleeds down into these areas that have 2 ponds on them. So you're going to get a neat combination of some ponds that look very natural, these pine forests, and then these landforms that you wonder, how did these get here? It's some remnants of the mining operation.
I understand you called Tom Doak last May. How many times have you and he or you walked, ridden in the gator across that property since then?
Since then, I've probably been out there 20 different times. It's fun. It's fun to go out to this untouched land and hear silence and see wildlife, turkeys, and all sorts of stuff. Doak has been out there probably 3 times since we've been in touch, maybe 4. The person who's been out there the most is the owner of Pinehurst, Bob Dedman.
Huh.
Every time he visits, which is 6 to 8 times a year over the last 5 years, he's gone out to that property and begin to figure out, how are we going to pull this off? And he just has kind of fallen in love with the land and is excited about what we're going to do. So again, that gets back to how fortunate we are to be family owned and to have owners who are in this for the long term. Mm-hmm. We acquired the land decades ago, have patiently waited for it, didn't develop it for some other purpose, waited until the right time, and that time's now.
And if people aren't familiar with Tom Doak, some of the domestic golf courses he's built, Pacific Dunes in Oregon. I know you've been to Bandon. Have you played Pacific Dunes?
I have.
Okay. Ballyneal in Colorado. Sebanak, is it Sebanak? Sebanak in New York. Old McDonald in Oregon. Streamsong Blue, course in Florida. In fact, Streamsong was just sold for $160 million by Kemper Sports Group and some investors there. So interesting transition there at Streamsong. One of your competitors, of course. Tweaked Wailea Country Club, where the Sony Open is being played as we record this. Originally Seth Rayner did that golf course out in Hawaii. So and people have not heard of Tom Doak, or people that have, and there have been a lot of architects, but this is the first Tom Doak course. Was that a reason to have Tom do this? Because one thing I've learned in my 5 years here is Pinehurst never copies anybody. They're usually exclusive, original. You're the first to do something. So the first Tom Doak, did that play into, obviously you want a great golf course architect, but to have the first Tom Doak golf course in this destination, did that play even a small part into it?
Absolutely. We like to offer our guests variety and variety and some of the best golf architects in the world. And so walking through and playing golf at Pinehurst is like going through a golf architecture museum, if you will. You get Donald Ross's masterpiece, you get Gil Hance, you get Alice Maples, Reese Jones, Jack Nicklaus, Tom Fazio, and now you'll have Tom Doak. And so, yeah, we love to be able to provide just a lot of variety. There's other destinations that have gone with one architect and they've gone deep with that architect. Right. I think that the latest, it's not a trend, if you will, but it just, most destinations now are giving people a lot of options when they come and visit. And some of it is all in the same ethos, kind of this natural, sandy, minimalist style of architecture. But yeah, Tom Doak doesn't have a golf course in North Carolina. Look, I've played a lot of golf. I've traveled and had an opportunity to play a ton of golf. And I think I've only played 3 of Tom Doak's courses. And so that you still don't have a lot of them out there in the world. And I think it will be a treat for visitors to the destination to have a chance to play a Doak course.
You talk about the sand and building on sand, minimalist. What is so intriguing about building on sand? Is just because you don't have to move a lot of rocks and clay. I mean, is it easier to just move the land?
I think that factors in for sure. Rocks don't know what that's like. I've seen some destinations that have rocks or courses that have rocks, and they're using dynamite and heavy machinery. Sand is easier to move around as you're building it, but it also allows you to do some things. Think about the green surrounds of Pinehurst No. 2 and these swales. And we're fortunate, to not have a lot of clay or water drains after it rains. But imagine a clay-based soil up in the Northeast somewhere. If you had this little valley off to the side, a closely mown roll-off, almost like a grass bunker, it'd be full of water, after a rainstorm, and it might sit there for 3 days. And so the sand allows you to do some shaping around the greens that, after rain, it's going to just percolate and be gone. And so I think Ross, that was one of the brilliance of his greens complexes at Pinehurst No. 2. He could do things here that he wouldn't have been able to do in Boston, where he arrived when he came from Scotland. So I think it's easier to construct, but it also allows you to do some things with the complexes around the greens that you couldn't do otherwise.
In the midst of all the coverage of Pinehurst No. 10, when you announced it, you said something that just like, it really popped. You've been there for 25 years or so. And since you've been there, you've been more, Mr. Dabman too, have been more editors instead of creators, which explain that, because it's brilliant. Because you talk about, what Gil Hance did, and redoing No. 4, Cork Renshaw No. 2, redoing, but doing original work, having a clean canvas.
Yeah.
Being from an editor to a creator.
And look, editing isn't easy. You always have the opportunity to mess something up when you're editing and lose the essence of whatever it is. So we're proud of the editing that we've done. But yeah, it's the restoration of Pinehurst No. 2, was an amazing thing and changed the momentum of Pinehurst. But it was just changing what had already been done. You look at other places that have created destinations from nothing. I've always looked at that and thought, wow, that's got to be hard. We're just tweaking, we're refining, we're being true to who we are and changing. The brewery, for instance, it was an old power plant in the heart of the village of Pinehurst. The building was not operable for 30 plus years, but we took something that was already here and turned it into something new. The brewery, the cradle, was the existing first holes, of course, 3 and 5. I guess that was kind of creating, you could say, so it's editing and creating at the same time. But anyhow, what we're going to do in Aberdeen is our first opportunity to create, a destination and to establish new buildings that have never existed before and figure out what's the golfer experience, what do we want it to feel like. Because, and I'm sure you're going to ask, it's not just one golf course, it's 900 acres.
Right.
And I already mentioned 250 acres is what it takes to build a course.
Right.
So there's room for more.
Wow. Well, when's Pinehurst No. 11, Tom?
Well, again, we have a Cork Renshaw routing we've been sitting on. This is not touching that routing.
Yeah.
This is the western side of the property. So we still have plenty of land to do more things in the future.
I understand Pitt was a par 71. Do you think it'll be a par 71, 72? What kind of grass will the greens be comprised of?
Yeah, it'll be Bermuda grass greens. At number 8, we just redid the greens last summer, and we used some ultra dwarf. Tiff Eagle, I think, was the name of the ultra dwarf. So I think we're going to use that type of grass. We've fallen in love with the ultra dwarf Bermudas. Gets you through the hot summers, does fine in the winters. So we love Bermuda. That'll be that. What else was your question about?
Just the par 71.
Oh, par 71. It's funny. I did a Golf Channel live interview with Tom Doak this week, and that was the first time I learned. He said it was going to be a par 71. He thinks it'll be a par 71. We haven't asked him a lot of detail. It's like we don't overmanage our golf architects when we get the opportunity to work with them. We hire great people, and so we've not asked a lot of questions of Tom about yardage. We've not said. I'll tell you one word that we've said we don't want, and that's championship. Like we've got Pinehurst No. 2 championship test. Pinehurst No. 4 was a co-host of the U.S. Amateur.
Right.
That's championship. Number 8 has hosted some big championships. That's not what we're trying to add to our championship portfolio.
Okay.
We're thinking about golfers who are coming here to have a memorable experience, see something maybe they haven't seen before, and have fun. And so I heard that he said it will probably be a par 71, but once he gets here in the ground and sees, maybe he wants to change a par 5 that he had conceived into a par 4, or maybe a 4 into a short 5.
So you haven't seen a routing or even a rough draft of a routing?
Oh no, we've seen the routing. We've seen a routing, but some of it you're not sure, is this a 4 or a 5?
Okay.
And so we've seen the routing, but again, he wants to get here, get into the grass, get into the earth, and in terms of what are the bunkers going to look like. Some of this is just going to evolve, and certainly it's in the sandhills of North Carolina. It's going to be sandy wiregrass, pine trees. but we want to let him get here and see what the land is speaking to him while he's out there.
With the timeline of this being completed in time for the 2024 U.S. Open in, 16, 17 months, how tight is that timeline? I guess the sand helps because it's a little bit easier to work with than a rocky soil, clay-based soil. What about that timeline? And just talk about that and how it's going to open before the U.S. Open.
Absolutely. We've got a wonderful opportunity to open the 10th golf course. I'm not calling it number 10, the 10th golf course.
Okay.
When the world is going to be paying a lot of attention in June of 2024. So one of the upsides to the site and what Tom Doak liked about the site, there's not going to be a lot of earth movement. He felt like it's got a lot of elevation change, but it's sweeping, it's broad. He's not going to have to do a ton of earth movement. He comes in and tries to find the green sites. I don't understand exactly how they do what they do, but he walks around the site and tries to find what he thinks would be a great green complex and works backwards from there. So as he's done that with his 18-hole routing, he feels pretty comfortable that we're not going to have to do a tremendous amount of earth moving. So that's going to accelerate things. They hope to have they've got a lull in their schedule of the projects they're working on. Some of them are up in the north and they can't work on them in the winter. So he's going to be able to throw a lot of resources and talent at this project over the first 4 months in the springtime. So I think they're going to work pretty quick. And the goal is to have it finished and grass by the fall, maybe early September. They've got other things they need to move on to. I like that they're motivated to move on so that they're not going to be sticking around. And then they'll have time to grow it in, to manicure it. I think it may be limited play when we open in the summer. We want to make sure it's got plenty of time to grow in, but absolutely the 10th course will be open in June of 2024, and we can't wait for the world audience to see it.
Should be a great walking course, I would imagine, even though with some elevation change, and you were on our video with Lee Pace about the importance of walking golf courses. So that should be a fun one to walk.
Yeah, I think so. I think there are some climbs and some hills, but we haven't really totally decided if it's going to be pure walking or if there will be golf carts available. The summers in Pinehurst get awfully hot, and so there's other places that have the heat issue that will allow them during seasonally. So we haven't quite figured it out, but no, tee to green. It's going to be well connected, maybe not quite as exquisite as number 2, which the tee is literally, you just walk right off the green. But yeah, we intend this to be a walking course.
Interesting that Tom has as a colleague and a trusted colleague in Angela Moser, who's going to be working on this project, may even spend more time here than Tom if he's working on other projects. I mean, how intriguing is that to have her, and let's just say a female, that's going to be working on this golf course where it's not the traditional thing that you see, but highly talented and very well educated and a passion for what she's going to do and what she's going to do here at the 10th course.
Yes. Angela's fantastic. Have got to spend a good amount of time with her and have seen some of the work that she's done. So her resume includes the work at LA Country Club that she did with Gil, a Hoopie match club in Georgia. Again, very sandy, very natural, minimalist. She did a course in Ireland called St. Patrick's with Tom Doak that's getting rave reviews. So Angela's very talented. Any golf architect, Bill Core, we spend a lot of time with. Bill thinks the world of her. Tom's very confident. The neat thing, a little visit that she did, we were supposed to have a visit from both Tom and Angela. Tom wasn't able to make it at the last minute. And so Angela was here, her first time visiting the site without Tom there. Here we are, hanging on every word, and she was super confident, super knowledgeable. It was she knew the routing That's already great. By the time she got there, so just gave us a tremendous amount of confidence. And she's fun, super talented. She will be here a lot. She's essentially going to technically move here, for many months, and Tom will come and go.
It's interesting, and just the course of researching this and knowing how much you were involved in the redesigns of 2 and 4 and 8 and everything else. As you were editors of these golf courses. And Mike Davis, formerly with the USGA, who's left that world to go into the golf course design world. I know you love your job, Tom, but I mean, at some point, was there some whim or fancy that, you'd like to, as much as you've seen, how much have you absorbed it? Would it be kind of like a fantasy or something that, to dabble in down the road, if you will?
It's not in the wheelhouse, not in the cards.
I was just curious.
No, it's fair. It's a fair question. And like I'm a visual learner, and so if you were to say, we're thinking about taking this wall out and it'll open it up to what's behind it. It's like, I can't see it. I take the wall out and then I'll understand what you're talking about. I do not have the ability to see through, a forest of trees and discern the elevation change and figure out, this would be really neat. So no, I'm going to stick with what I'm doing, Phil. Thank you. I'm very happy doing.
Yeah, please stick with what you're doing.
But no,
don't quit your day job.
I know it when I see it. I appreciate it when I see it. But I have so much respect for their vision and their creativity. It's not something I can do.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the 900 acres, the 250 acres. So part of this too will be a clubhouse, a short course, which it would be cool if it was a lighted short course, since you're in Aberdeen. And I think maybe Robbie Farrell might be okay with that. Or how much have you worked with Aberdeen, since it's not in the confines of the village of Pinehurst?
You're right. We're 4 miles, from our main clubhouse, but yet we're in a different town. Southern Pines. It's your name, Pinehurst, Aberdeen, Southern Pines.
Yeah.
So we're all very close. But Aberdeen's been great to work with. There was a golf project that was conceived on some of this land over 20 years ago that never happened. And so when we had a chance to meet with Robbie and the mayor and some town officials, it's like, don't tease us again. We got excited about Pinehurst coming to Aberdeen, a couple decades ago. We don't want to be left at the altar again, and we're not going to do that. So no, Aberdeen's been wonderful to work with, and we're still going to be working with them. We've got to have a rezoning hearing and think about our plans for the future, because you mentioned short course. We do envision having the opportunity to have golf cottages down there, clubhouse, potential short course, putting courses, all that stuff. We really do think this could be an immersive destination that could ultimately have multiple golf courses. You could probably have a rewarding golf trip to this area, just pulling in, parking your car, staying in one of the cottages, playing the offerings that are there, and then going home and saying, wow, I had a great trip to Pinehurst and never visited Pinehurst number 2.
Yeah. When you think about the courses 1 through 5, have the main clubhouse, and then you've got, this may be too parochial to say, satellite courses at 6, 7, 8, 9. But this seems like to be like a second hub, like a second major gathering place for members, guests, visitors. Do you see that way, that it, 7's great? I mean, all these other satellite golf courses and with clubhouses are very nice, but I see this as more of a concentrated center or hub that's almost like a second major.
I think that's fair. To have, because all the other ones are single courses without a lot of other amenities, and this has the opportunity to have multiple courses, multiple amenities. What's wonderful about the main clubhouse, courses 1 through 5, is that has become kind of a national park for golf. Everyone comes, whether they play or don't play. They want to see the cradle. They want to look at Thistledew. Hopefully, they're visiting the pro shop and going by the Deuce. But it is a sea of activity that you sell. It's a celebration of golf, and I think we have an opportunity to have scale in Aberdeen what we're going to do, but it might be a little different experience. It may not be a golf's national park. It may be a little more refined, a little quieter. Part of the beauty of that land is just that you feel like you're in nature. It's quiet.
Almost like a lodge kind of feel, maybe.
Perhaps. And we don't want it to feel rushed. We don't want it to feel busy. And there are times when the main clubhouse can feel busy. So we've got a great opportunity to create something special down there, and we can't wait to get going.
I got to tell you, I don't know if you stayed tuned when you were on Golf Channel the other day. Did you watch the end of the show at all?
No.
So we watched the end of the show. So Damon Hack and Eamon Lynch were talking about Pinehurst and the resort. Damon Hack went on for a couple of minutes, it seemed, to talk about something in Pinehurst that he says is the best among all resorts in the world. And you know what it was? No. It was the bacon. He said, we have some right here. So he said the bacon was absolutely unbelievable. So we've got some of the maple pecan candied bacon, and we've got some of the house bacon. And I got to thank Sydney from the Deuce. I went over there last night and picked up, I said, Sydney, we're going to do something a little different with the president of the resort here. Can you help me out? So she was awesome giving us some of it smells great. Dan, you're more than welcome to try some. This is some of the.
This is the bacon from the Deuce.
There's the bacon from the Deuce. Goes
with the tater man tots.
Tater man tots.
Tater tots and bacon. Yep.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure you would actually try it on air. We heated it up. It's still very good. But I mean, Damon.
I love it.
And in fact, John McGinnis also on his Sirius XM satellite radio show said it was by far the best breakfast buffet, the best bacon. What is it about this bacon?
Well, maybe just maybe it's the setting. You know, the setting enhances the flavors. To be at the Deuce, having that wonderful pecan encrusted bacon, it's got a little spice to it. Mm-hmm. But you're also overlooking the 18th green of Pinehurst No. 2, and you're seeing somebody, finish up the round of their life. So there's no question the bacon is special, but I think the setting, and the setting could be the Carolina dining room where you've got a piano music and you're seeing all these people with smiles on their face and their enthusiasm for this round that they're about to play. So I think the bacon is no question amazing, but also the setting makes it taste even sweeter.
Getting ready for the 2024 U.S. Open, I'm sure you guys are already having meetings, prepping. Anything you guys can talk about what you're kind of getting ready for, you can reveal? I mean, it's going to be here before you know it. I'm sure you guys are having meetings right now.
I got a text from one of our people today. It was 541 days. I think he sent me that note. That's the first time I've gotten the daily countdown. So yeah, it's approaching. We're excited about it. One of the great things, the USGA's going to be here. They're building Golf House Pinehurst right now, and so they're here a lot, and so we get an opportunity to interact with them all the time. Beauty of Pinehurst No. 2 is nothing has to change. There is no rough that we have to grow up. We don't have to narrow the fairways. All we have to do for the golf course is firm up the greens and speed up the greens. And so as far as I know, I haven't heard of any new tees that are going to be constructed. So the golf course is what it is. I think the footprint of some of the facilities will change a little bit. I think there's going to be a really special grandstand on 18, bigger and better than it's ever been. So a lot of preparation, a lot of volunteers. It takes over 5,000 volunteers to pull this all off. So the volunteer leadership is beginning to mobilize. We don't take it for granted at all, but we've now done this enough times, and we have the people that are still involved to where we feel pretty confident that we know what we're doing. And if you're in the area and you go to the country club, you can see Golf House Pinehurst and the two facilities the USGA is constructing starting to come out of the ground now. So I went by it last night to get this bacon, by the way, which is really good. But you can kind of see the shape, not so much the shape, but the size, the general footprint of those two buildings there on campus. So it's really cool to see. So if you get a chance, I'm sure you pass it every day. So it's kind of cool to watch the progress and what's anticipated. They were, they did months of site work, so you don't see anything coming out of the ground. But once the steel beams started coming up, it's only been maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Now you really do see the framework of it, and it's exciting. It's neat to see their progress. They're on schedule, from what I understand. They will be in that building in December of 2023, so this year. And I'm sure you'll perhaps have one of them on to do this podcast to give you the update. But it's going to be great to have our games governing body in the U.S. doing all the club testing, all the ball testing, with these equipments to make sure they're conforming, plus a visitor center, agronomy research, the championship operations crew. 50-plus people are going to be here. Can't wait for them to arrive. And before we go, I just want to mention, because before all the U.S. Open, let's not forget about the 2023 U.S. Adaptive Open. I think at number 6, you learn a lot from a first event. I think the USGA and yourselves, as the resort, did as well. It was truly inspiring. I'm telling you, if you didn't go to that event, you truly need to put it on your calendar, because I was inspired by so many. All the competitors are phenomenal. What a great idea. What a great concept. And thank you for hosting it again this year. I've been here 26 years, Phil, and it's one of the neatest things I've ever seen at Pinehurst. And so, we're excited to have another shot at it. I think USGA put in so much work and effort to get it right the first time, but we're certainly going to be able to tweak it a little bit and improve it. I remember I get an opportunity to speak at the end of it, and watching the the seated golfers in their different devices that would get into the bunkers or onto the greens. It was the first time I'd ever seen a vehicle like that on a green. Changed my perspective completely on that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, you don't have to walk to enjoy the fairways of Pinehurst now. I'm not going to say walking the fairways, because these folks were enjoying the fairways and a lot of them weren't walking. Such a neat event. Can't wait for it to come back in July.
And I think I told you, I said, that'll be the last time I ever get upset on the golf course after watching these, to watch them play. It's like, I am glad to be able to have the facilities to be able to play the game of golf and to appreciate them being able to play it as well. It's just, if you get a chance, go to the U.S. Adaptive Open this year. Tom Pashley, it's always a pleasure. Congratulations again on the 10th golf course at Pinehurst Resort. We look forward to seeing what Tom Doak does. And again, I mean, it's always something new and different and great. And we appreciate you and what Mr. Damon are doing for the resort.
Thank you. It is an exciting time, and we're not slowing down. Thank you for the bacon. That was very thoughtful.
It was. We got plenty to eat, and it's good stuff. But anyway, thanks again for joining us. If you want more information on this destination, go to homogolf.com. We have our brand new destination guide, so you can go to homogolf.com and you could either download it digitally or you can order one right here. If you want to see this vodcast, go to our YouTube channel, which is Home of American Golf, and you can join the millions of others who have downloaded this podcast. Well, a few more than that, but it is Paradise in the Pines. So be sure to download that too. Again, thanks, Tom Pashley, and we'll see you next time on Paradise in the Pines. That's good stuff.
I got to go back and watch the rest of that show to listen to Damon and Eamon.
It was good.